Seated. I want you to remember that no bastard ever won war by dying for his country. You won it by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Perseverance Mindset Podcast. I am your host, as always, John Zadzura. We're coming to you live tonight from the Dialogue Den, the one and only Dialogue Den. Hello to all my Perseverance pioneers out there. Welcome to another powerful session of the Perseverance Mindset Podcast. We're so glad that you're joining us tonight. We have an episode jam-packed of great information and a very exciting topic. And I want to call out that tonight's episode will be on a very, very significant person in American military and American history. Today, we're diving deep into the heart of leadership. You might ask, what is leadership? I would respond to that, what isn't leadership? Because let's be real. In any pursuit that matters, leadership is required. Whether that's running a business, in your family, having a business plan and executing on that, raising a family, chasing your goals, or rebuilding your life. You're leading. You're leading someone else, or even if it's just leading yourself in the right direction towards your goals, your dreams, and your passions. And when it comes to commanding leadership, no one embodied that more than General George Patton, who earned the nickname Old Blood and Guts, which is a nickname he detested, but the men that served under him loved it. So today's episode is about the leadership lessons that we can all learn from this military leader, this legendary general, not just from his World War II military experience, but from the man who he was, the man who everything he stood for, a man that from the foundation he built during World War I in his military background. He led with intensity, instinct, and an unbreakable belief in victory, absolute victory. And these lessons are still weapons that each and every one of us have access inside of us every day that we can carry to our lives to achieve success. So grab your rucksack and your boots, and let's get into it, gang. To all of our Perseverance pioneers, we're marching into the mindset territory, George Patton style. Now we want to get into the making of the leader that is George Patton. Before he became a household name in World War II, George Sherman Patton was proving himself on the front lines of World War I, the Great War, the war to end all wars. And this is where the core of his leadership truly took shape. Patton served as part of what would be called as today as a tank brigade. Again, General John J. Pershing's expedition in Mexico in 1916, where he got his first taste of combat, military combat. But it was in 1917, during the First World War, that Patton really started to step into history and to the role of his leadership style. He was selected to help create and command the U.S. Army's brand new Tank Corps. Again, a brand new division during that time. That it was a revolutionary idea at the time to think about that. He wasn't just using the latest and greatest of ideas of the military and ideas coming forward during World War I. He was building a whole new style of military warfare. By old rules, he created the path for the future of new military warfare. Again, during many of his various campaigns during World War I, in the Meuse Argonne Offensive, one of the largest operations in World War I, Patton personally led tanks into battle under fire. He walked in front of tanks to lead them into battle, to guide them through treacherous terrain. Here is a soldier, a recruit, leading a brigade of tanks through treacherous terrain in front of the tanks, exposed to enemy fire, because he believed in leading from the front. He was surrounded by machine gun fire, but he kept giving order. And he was even wounded from that machine gun fire, but he kept giving orders until he passed out from blood loss. Again, earning the name Old Blood and Guts. This leader, this man, this general, who wasn't a general at the time, but showed his leadership. That's commitment. That's persistence. That's real leadership. The takeaway here is simple but powerful. Patton wasn't born a leader, becoming a legend. He built his legacy by stepping into fear, creating solutions when none existed, and proving that leadership isn't about comfort, it's about courage. And George Sherman Patton exemplified courage and lived up to that standard better than anyone of that era. Now let's get into the section of leadership of leading from the front. So let's start with Patton's most famous leadership principle, leading from the front. Patton believed that leadership wasn't about giving commands from a safe distance away where you weren't in harm's way. It was about setting the tone of being there with your troops in battle. By example, in both world wars, he was known for being right there, right alongside his troops during battle, inspecting trenches, riding alongside his men, getting muddy, bloody, and battle worn. This is a true testament to George Sherman Patton. And this wasn't just optics, it created results. When soldiers saw Patton in the field, morale surged. Think of that. Someone leading from the front, being right alongside you in those trenches, going step by step in with you to the next campaign, to the next city during World War II, showing your support. Morale surged. Why? Because he wasn't asking them to do anything that he wouldn't be willing to do himself. And that kind of leadership builds trust fast. And as a leader in any space, in your workplace, your home, your community, leading by example, your presence matters. It truly does. Whether you're showing up early, staying late, or just staying calm when everything around you is falling apart, when there's a lot of moving parts to something, and you're like, how do I go on? People follow what you model. It's not just what you say, it's your actions that back up what happens as a result. I'm going to challenge all of our perseverance pioneers out there. Where in your life do you need to step up to the front? Is it regarding your job? Is it regarding your personal life? Is it a business project you've been skipping off? Is it some personal goals that you have? I challenge you this week to go from leading from the back to leading to the front. Are others waiting for you to make that move, to go that extra mile? Make this the week you get out in front and you set the tone for the goals for your life. Another leadership principle of George Sherman Patton, General Patton, audacity wins. Patton had a favorite saying, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. That wasn't just philosophy. It was how he lived. He lived up to that quote every single day, whether it was in his World War I tank charges or his legendary breakout in France during World War II. Leading many campaigns, many troops, Patton made bold moves, big and bold moves, and he made them fast, which allowed the U.S. military to advance and to advance and to advance. And if anybody has done their homework on George Sherman Patton, he did not want to be known for retreating. He wanted to be advancing constantly, progressing forward to the next step to help win the war. While other commanders were stuck in meetings, Patton was already moving. And that momentum caught enemies off guard, gave the advantage to the U.S. military, and gave his troops a psychological edge. But let's not confuse audacity with recklessness. Patton studied constantly. He studied tactics, history, military history, logistics. He prepared obsessively. So when the moment arose for him to take all that knowledge, to do everything that he had been studying for and living for, he was ready to move without hesitation. Now, what does that mean for all of our perseverance pioneers listening to this episode? Too often, we stall. We wait for certainty. We wait for the right and perfect moment. We want more data. We want more signs. We want more confidence. But truth is, action creates clarity. You can't remain at a stalemate. You need to take action. You need to take bold action, whether you're launching a business, whether you're switching careers, starting a health journey, or having another personal goal in your life, or having a hard conversation, something you've not been stepping up to the plate for. The bold move the bold move generally and most often is often the right one. Let's try this. Pick something you've been hesitating on. Again, having a hard conversation, starting up that business you always wanted to do. First, take the bold step this week. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Be the change agent. Don't wait for that moment. Be the moment. Make the change. Step up and see results. Going into a third leadership principle of George Patton. Discipline equals freedom. Now, I know discipline is a tough word for a lot of folks listening to this episode, and for myself as well. We all have lapses in discipline. But discipline for George Patton was non-negotiable. He expected his soldiers to be sharp, physically fit, punctual, and precise. If someone fell short, he let them know, not out of turn, not out of cruelty, but out of a belief that discipline breeds excellence. And with that excellence is the will to do better. And excellence saves lives. And in a point where you're in a world war where the person next to you and the person behind you is responsible for your life and your safety, I can't think of anything more crucial to demand excellence. But Patton didn't just dish it out, he lived it. His uniform was spotless, his speeches were rehearsed, his mind was trained through constant reading and writing. He even wrote poetry to discipline his thoughts and to get better organization at organizing his thoughts. He once was quoted in saying himself that you cannot be disciplined in great things and be undisciplined in small things, understanding the bigger picture, that discipline is universal and it's in all things that we do each and every single day. The small things you do every day are shaping the big results that you're chasing, are shaping the goals that you're working towards. So if you want freedom, freedom in your finances, freedom in your fitness, freedom in your mental health, the way there isn't to be undisciplined, and it's not something that happens by magic. It's daily discipline, doing the daily habits, day in and day out, being consistent. It's doing the hard thing when no one's watching behind the scenes. So you can live free when it counts, when you can achieve those goals when it counts. Ask yourself, where in my life am I craving that freedom? But I'm not doing the steps to help me get there, to be financially free, to have a better fitness regimen, to have a better healthy life regimen. And what's one habit that I can build this week to take control and to be more disciplined in my daily life? And the fourth leadership principle that I wanted to share of you from General George Patton, leadership principle, morale is a multiplier. Good morale. So let's wrap up with one of Patton's most overlooked superpowers. And that was his ability to lift morale. As we were explaining on earlier on the episode, General George Patton was right there alongside his troops, not asking them to do something he wasn't willing to do himself. He was intense, sure. A general during World War II, making cutthroat decisions to advance and to advance and to advance to keep the enemy on their toes. But he could fire people up like few others could. His speeches were legendary. They weren't soft, they weren't sugar coated, but they made soldiers believe that they could win against all odds. And this is one of the great skills of George Sherman Patton. Patton understood that morale was more than motivation, it was a force multiplier. A unit with a high morale fights harder, holds longer, and recovers faster. When you are a general leading groups of troops, men, America's sons and daughters, what is more important than that? Having that morale, having that oneness, that synergy. And the same goes for us. Whether you're running a team or you're running a race, your mindset is your battlefield, really, when you think about it. If morale is low, if you're drained, you're cynical, or you're just checked out, you're just there, but you're not fully there, everything becomes heavier. But the good news is morale can be built. But again, it doesn't happen by something in the way of magic. It takes time and effort, just like anything else. Start with movement. Stack small wins. Celebrate progress. Speak life to yourself. Speak life to others. I made it a personal goal to myself. You want to speak life into where you are. When you come into a room, you want to present yourself. You want others to know you're there. You want to have a presence. Patton didn't ignore hardship, but he always pointed towards the possibility of absolute victory. And that's the kind of energy that changes lives when you think about it. When you're having a rough day, when you're having a setback in business, either or a setback in business, setback personally, setback professionally, it's all that morale, that the energy that can change lives. And how you react to that morale is a whole nother story. And let's lock in these four battleship Let's lock in these four battlefield leadership lessons from General Patton. Lead from the front. Presence creates influence. Your presence matters more than you know. It matters more to your employees. It matters more to your soldiers. It matters more to the people that look up to you as a leader. Audacity wins. Take bold action. Trust your training. Trust your confidence, and trust in your own abilities. It makes a world of difference. Discipline equals freedom. The small things unlock the big dreams, which unlock the big results. And lastly, as we were just discussing, morale is a multiplier. Keep your mindset and your state of mind mission ready at all times to produce your best results. And I want to close our episode today with another quote from George Sherman Patton. Success is how high you bounce when you hit the bottom. What a great quote. What a great analogy. When you hit the absolute bottom, that success is how much you come back to overcome that. That's what this show is about. The resilience, the perseverance, the boldness, and that unstoppable spirit we call here at the Perseverance Mindset. I'd like to coin it as American grit. With all odds being stacked against you, with the decks being totally stacked against you, coming back stronger, coming back ready to fight and ready to win in life for yourself and for your career. If this episode really hit you home, share it with someone you know who's in the trenches, who's battling a fight right now, and someone that can use this advice. And again, don't forget to subscribe and leave us reviews. We're on Facebook, we're on X, we're on TikTok. It helps spread the fire to more of the perseverance pioneers just like you. So until next time, everyone, stay bold, stay disciplined, and lead from the front. This is John Zedzura signing off from the Dialogue Den. And until next time, I'll see you around.
Americans traditionally love to fight. All real Americans love the sting of battle.